Hey, family, welcome to the tribe, another edition of A Tribe Called Family. I am your gracious host, Octavius Davis. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on another episode. Our guest today is the mother of not one, not two, but 10 children. Now, as a father of five and a pop to three, yes, I am a grandfather, but you got to call me pop. I'm not a grandpa, not grandfather, not granddad. It's pop. Okay, you got to get the verbiage right. As a father of five, pop of three, I understand how kids can not only keep you young, but they can also kind of age you a little bit, which is why I now have all of this gray hair. So, our guest today, she's the mother of 10. And some of those young people, she had an opportunity to adopt.
Hey family, welcome to the tribe called family.
Here on the Tribe Called Family, none other than Londeshua Kendrick. Londeshua, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, as I teased just a little bit about you being the mom of 10 children, I cannot imagine the level of energy, but specifically the grocery bill, because this is summertime. I don't know about you, but I have a 15-year-old and a 5-year-old at home, and it seems like they live, breathe, and sleep in front of the refrigerator. So, I could not imagine what that's like for you. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But, Londeshua, talk to us about yourself. Are you a native to Jacksonville? Tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so my name is Londeshua Kendrick. Um, I was born in Jacksonville, but I was raised in Clay County. Um, I am 37. My birthday is in August.
Hey, birthday girl.
My mom has four children. I am the third born of the kids. My dad, he has a good amount of us, and but I am the oldest biological daughter on my dad's side. Um, I have 10 children. I have three biological, and I adopted seven of my nephews.
Wow. 7 boys. Now, do you have
hmm
biological sons of your own?
I have one biological son.
Okay, so you have a total of 8 young men there at the house, and we'll have an opportunity to, get into some of the dynamics there in just a moment. And so I get it. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, not only do I have 5 children, I have 3 grandkids, but I also have 3 siblings from my mom's side, and then I have uh, 3 siblings, four siblings on my dad's side. Unfortunately, I had a brother that passed away some years ago. So I get it when you speak about having a large family. So here it is. You're a mom of 10,
hmm
and you've already identified that you have 3 biological and you adopted 7, which we'll get to the adoption piece in just a moment. But what about this whole promise that you had with your siblings? Because it was a promise that you and your siblings made, a pact, a covenant, as it were, that
Yep.
you and your siblings made when
Yep.
you were younger, that has now put you in
hmm
position to be able to have 10 children there in your home. So, talk to us about this promise. Where did this promise come from?
Yeah, sure. So I can remember it like it was, yesterday or today, or I can see us sitting in the living room when we were younger, and we made each other a promise, and we said, "Hey, if anything happened to either one of us, or if I mean anything, because life happens, so we was like,
Absolutely.
hey, let's promise each other that we'll get each other kids. We won't let kids go into the system."
Mm.
And so all of us like, okay, all right, promise. So, yep, that was our promise.
Now, for you all, roughly what age were you all when you made this promise to one another?
um, Probably I would say between like elementary and middle. I would say middle school. I would say middle
Okay.
school. Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a
Mm-hmm.
pretty young age for
Mm-hmm.
kids to make such a powerful promise to one another. May I ask what
Mhm.
led up to each of you saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's make sure that if we have kids, none of our kids ever go into this system. Let's commit to one another that this is what we would do if life were to life, and
Right.
one of us would have to take care of our kids." What led up to you all making that decision?
Well, my mom, she has a huge heart. So my mom used to have the whole neighborhood kids. She used to have everybody kids. And then I remember it was times that my mom used to get children that wasn't no kin to us, and then we would hear stories, from our friends, some family members, the kids that my mom used to bring in, about abuse and
Mm,
just life, different situations. um, so it's like, dang, like, and it was separation sometime with siblings. And we know because we all real close. Like when I tell you we're close. So we like, yeah, we don't want to get separated, if anything was to happen. And so we made sure that we made that promise that, because my mom told us as well, if anything was to happen, I don't want my kids separated because
mm.
my mom went through an issue with a separation with her brothers and sisters when she was younger. Her mom got killed when they were younger, so they were separated. So it's just like, no, we can't be separated. And when we start having kids, we definitely not letting them get separated. So really, basically, it's breaking generational curse.
Yes. That very
Yeah.
thing came to mind right before you said it, because that promise that you and your siblings made to each other, that thing was in the making when your mom was a child because of what your
Yep.
mom experienced. Now, did each of you know what your mom had experienced before you made that promise to one another?
Not fully, not fully, but we did know that, about our grandmother. And then as we got older, we started learning, that, you know, they were separated and stuff.
Wow. So here it was your mom, if we may talk about mom for a moment. So here it was your
Hmm.
mom, she had uh, an encounter with the child welfare system as a child.
Hmm.
But as you mentioned, mom had a big heart. So mom is
Hmm.
an adult now. She has her own children and everybody in the neighborhood. She's the mom of the neighborhood essentially. So
Yes.
you and your siblings had an opportunity. Oh, let me. Was mama the candy lady? Was your mom the candy lady
No,
in the neighborhood?
my grandmother was the candy lady.
I, I knew it had to be a candy lady up in there somewhere. Now, listener, if you don't know what the candy lady is, I'm just gonna let you know real quick who the candy lady is. The candy lady has all of the treats, all of
All
the
of.
snacks, okay,
Hmm.
that she will sell very, very cheaply for the kids in the
Hmm.
and I'm talking penny cookies, quarter candy. You can come and really stock up at the candy lady
Yeah.
house. So with
Yep.
all that love that you just spoke about in terms of how close you and your siblings are and your mama having a big heart, I knew it had to be a candy lady somewhere up in that family tree. Had to be, right? But here it is. You all had an opportunity to see mom loving on all the kids in the neighborhood.
Hmm.
Um, what what do you remember about just seeing that yourself as a young lady? And of course, we see the impact of it because it's rubbed off on you. But as a child, looking at that through the eyes of a child, what were some of the thoughts that you had seeing your mom share love with many of those children who may not have been as fortunate as you and your siblings?
Um, I seen a lot of love. I seen a lot of love because it's just like, how you keep doing it? I seen a lot of strength out of it. Um, and she didn't think about herself.
Mm,
She thought about the other kid. She thought about somebody else. Um, so it was a lot that I seen in it. Um, that I'm actually really seeing now, to be honest with you. And I never really thought about it. But sitting here talking about it and going back, I actually I see it. I see a lot of it now in me.
mm.
Yep. So it was a lot of love. And I noticed she didn't do it for the attention. She didn't do it um for anything. What I seen, my mom loved those kids. And she gave them hope. She gave them love. She gave them attention. Um so yeah, and then sometimes, now I must be honest. Now sometimes I used to be like, why is she bringing all these kids
I'm
over
sure,
here?
of course,
Like,
yeah.
mm,
That's my mama.
but
Right,
yeah, like I never understood it at the time when I was younger. Because I was always quiet. I was the one that didn't really go outside to play. And if I got sent
right.
outside, I was on the porch watching everybody else play. I was always quiet. But I'm an observer. I watch. And I
Mm.
watch people and I watch their demeanor and their attitudes. And I always been like that since a child. So I watched her and I'm like, like, what is she doing? Why is she getting all these kids? Why is she spending time with all these kids? But as they say, you know, when you come an adult, you start to see. But yeah, now I
Right.
see and now I know. Hmm.
So let's talk about now. Here it is, your nephews, they come into care
Hmm.
and you step up to the plate immediately to make good on that promise. Talk to us about just that process, that journey of going from 3 kids to 10 kids just like that. What was that
Quickly.
adjustment period like?
Okay, so I had them for maybe 6 months before I got them this time. And then they went back home, and then a situation happened. I was at work. They called me, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on, Miss Kendra? We need you to get the kids. Okay, that's
Mm.
fine. Um, so it's not like I was a stranger to them. They knew who I was. I knew who they were. So when I got the call, I'm like, okay, what I need to do, because if it was to happen to me, I would want
Right.
somebody to quickly not say, "Oh, let me think about it." No, like, these babies need somebody. So let's go. What I got to do?
Yeah.
So like I said before, I had them before. So we was kind of familiar with a little bit of the stuff. So when something reoccurred that I had to get them, it was fine. I was already somewhat used to it. So I was just like, okay, all right. And I got them, and I was in the 2-bedroom apartment at the
Mm.
time. I was in a 2-bedroom
Wow.
apartment. We got them. Um, we made do what we had to do. And then I quickly got some things situated. And my lease was almost up at the place anyway. So my lease was almost up. So I'm like, okay, I got to find a place anyway. So
Right.
I added them and to everything, to all of my stuff. And then I ended up finding a house. But before then, I was working. I had a job, um, a full-time job, and I had to end up quitting my job because
Wow.
um the care that they needed and the appointments and everything, I could not work. I didn't have time to work. And my job didn't want to let me go because I was a good employee, but I had to tell them, hey, these babies need me. So I gotta do what I gotta do. So, as being an adult, we have to sacrifice. We have to sacrifice even when we don't want to. So,
Correct. Correct.
the baby, they needed me. So, I quickly adjusted. Hey, what I gotta do? Let's go, let's go, let's go. And we here.
Wow. Now, what you just described, that's more than an adjustment. And I apologize for
Hmm.
even using the word adjustment because adjustment is an understatement. You had
Under.
to literally rearrange your entire life.
Mhm.
And so I heard you mention that you got a call spontaneously and you immediately stepped into action. At the time, you were in a two-bedroom home, two-bedroom apartment with your 3 children.
Apartment.
And
Well,
then
yeah, 3, because Skylar was a couple months.
okay,
Yep.
and
I
then
had just had a baby, like 5 months.
wow.
Like, she was like 5 months old, yeah.
And then now your 7 nephews, they come back, while you're still in this two-bedroom space. Thankfully, you were able to get into a larger space. Was it a larger apartment
Right.
or a home that you transitioned into?
It was a home. It's a home. It
Okay,
was a home, 5 bedroom, 3.5 bath.
beautiful. But then here it was because of the level of care, attention, and time that all 10 children needed, you had to quit your job. So
I did.
that's why I say that's more than an adjustment. That's an entire lifestyle shift.
Life.
Was that did you wrestle with that decision of having to leave your place of employment? Because as you mentioned, you were a great employee. They didn't want to lose you, but you knew those kids needed you more than that job did. So what was that something that you wrestled with?
It wasn't. It wasn't because, um, I prayed about it, and I know that God wouldn't put nothing on me that I can't bear. So, um, if it came to me, hey, that's what I gotta do. And I remembered the promise. So,
Mm,
hey, if I gotta sacrifice some things, let's do it, because children didn't ask to come in this world.
yeah,
So if I can help, let's help them and his family. So not only, if it would have been somebody that's not family, I would have done the same thing, because like I said, I would want somebody, to do that for my children if that was to ever happen. So no, I didn't think twice about it.
mhm,
Was it? Um, was it hard transitioning? Yeah,
sure.
I would say yes. Because it was times that I emptied out my bank account. It was times that, I didn't know where we were going after
Mm,
I got them, but I had faith. I
yeah.
had faith, and I had my support system, my
I was about
mentor,
to
my
ask about your
sister.
support
Yep.
system. Yes.
I had my support system, my mom, my mentor, my sisters, my brothers. When I tell you I had so much love and support that I didn't it really didn't even dawn on me or phase me that I had stopped working. It
Yeah.
was because I was going, 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 going. Um so yeah, it really didn't phase it didn't phase me. Um but hey, because of the support. I believe because of faith and support came together, and I believe, and I stand on it strongly, that that's how I was able to still stand today with God and the faith and my support. Yep. So it was easy. It really wasn't. It wasn't hard at all to
If you're just
transition.
tuning in, you are listening to A Tribe Called Family. My guest is Londeshua Kendrick, and you just heard her express how her tribe came together to help her when she took in her 7 nephews, already a mom of 3 biological children of her own, to make certain she can give each of those children the time and attention that they needed. She left her job, and then her tribe stepped in to make sure she could have that wraparound support. So, Landishua, you gave us a rundown of what that time frame was like for you as the adult, as the mom, right? Maneuvering however necessary to make sure that you can provide a safe and loving, stable home for those children. Talk to us about what that process looked like from the standpoint of the 10 children, because I can imagine for them, as much as you may have wanted to shield them from feeling or experiencing any instability or any difficulties, they're kids. Kids can kind of
Right.
pick up on some things. So,
hmm
were there any challenges that they began experiencing as you were navigating to provide that stability for them?
The kids was pretty good. Um, uh, you know, they, like I said, wasn't strangers to each other. So the kids was pretty good. They adjusted really good. Um, I made them a promise that I will protect them and take care of them, um, just as if I birthed them.
Yeah.
They can trust me. Whatever we got to do, let's do it. If you need counseling, we going for it. Um, I made myself available to them if they needed me.
Yeah.
So, even though, I was, getting things together and stuff like that, I still made sure I made time for them and let them know I am available. I'm not too busy for you to come and talk to me about anything because you matter. So, yeah, one of the boys, one of the boys he used to have, you know, he was hyper. So, we was able to, help him. So he's good now. School is good. Grades are amazing. He went from low grades, D's and F's to A's and B's just about the
Nice.
whole school year last year. So, they doing pretty good. They doing pretty good.
Well, that's great to hear, especially how your one son is progressing in school and excelling academically. So let's take a step back for a moment because you got the phone call while you were at work saying, "Hey, I need you to get the kids," and so you immediately spring into action. All seven of your nephews come back. You mentioned they were with you previously before, were able
Hmm.
to go back home, but then a situation arose and they had to come back with you. As you were maneuvering, moving from the two-bedroom apartment into the five-bedroom home, deciding to leave your place of employment to be able to fully commit yourself to them, during that time, did you know that you were going to have to adopt your nephews, or were you under the impression that it was going to still be a temporary placement sort of situation?
Um, I didn't know I was gonna adopt them. At that time. I did think that it was going to be temporary. I did. Um, but as time was going on, I had a dream.
Mm,
I had a dream. I'm a dreamer. I had a dream. And in my dream, I was helping the oldest boy with his tie. And he was taller than me. And I was helping him with his tie. I can remember it as if it was happening. I helped him adjust his tie. And I remember saying, "You look good, son." And I tapped him on his chest.
wow.
And I said, "I'm proud of you." So with that dream, I said, "Okay, God, I don't know what's about to happen, but whatever it is, I'm gonna be ready for it."
Mm,
And then from there is everything just started unfolding from there. But
wow.
in the beginning at that time, no, I just thought that it was gonna be temporary.
Yeah. And
Yep.
for the listener, that's typically referred to as like a kinship placement, right? When
Mhm.
the child comes to live with a relative, you were auntie at that time,
Mhm.
so that's referred to as a kinship placement. And
Yep.
so they were placed with you temporarily. Now they're placed with you for the second time. And as you mentioned, you had a dream that kind
Mhm.
of gave you a foreshadowing
Right.
that you were going to become mom. But you were open to it. Your heart was open. Okay, God, if that's what you have for me, then so be it. So when you did realize that you were going to have to adopt your nephews, all seven of your nephews, why did you make the decision to not separate them, but to keep them together while going the adoption route?
Because the promise from when we was younger,
Yeah.
nobody gets separated. Nobody.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, but you have other siblings, right? And so, like,
Uh-huh.
was there ever a thought to kind of like even just divide them up amongst your sibling group?
No,
Wow.
because we're always around each other. So, you know, no, I'll get all set. It'll be, and it was easier. It's easier to do that. The kids was used to me.
Yeah.
They was used to staying with me. So to have them go and adjust somewhere else, and
Mm,
then being separated, you got to think about when you separate children that's so used to being together, you don't want to divide that. You don't want to mess with their mental and say, well, why I didn't go? to
Yeah.
TT house, or why TT didn't adopt me, or why. So no, to kill all the confusion and questioning. Nope, everybody gonna stay. And like I said, the promise that we made, that we won't let nobody go into the system. And then we remembered that my mom had told us about her separation with her siblings. So we like, no, we're not gonna separate. Our kids not gonna separate. Nope. So, and that was
Wow.
the thing that I talked about with my brother, that we talked about. And one of his main wish was to keep his children together.
Yeah.
And I made sure I did that. Hmm.
You're holding true to a promise that you made to your siblings when you were just a child yourself. But here it is. You kept all seven of your nephews together when they needed to come back into your care. You had a dream foreshadowing that you were going to become a mom. Walk us through the adoption process. And
Okay.
before we get to the adoption process, roughly how much time elapsed from when they had to come back into your care to you realizing that you have to move forward with adopting them? How much time passed?
Um, it was, I would say, I think we was like a year in.
Okay.
I think we was a year in. Um, no, we was close to a year, I
Okay.
believe. It was close to a year in. Yeah. Hmm.
And then so for the adoption process itself, uh how seamless was that process? Because they were very familiar with you, been with you for close to a year by that point. Did it take long for the adoption itself to finalize?
Mm-mm. It surprised. It surprised everybody that was working on the case.
Yeah.
Um, because once we went through the with the process of the paperwork and stuff, and then it was like, okay, well, you know we got to do this huge package because each child has to have a package. Okay, fine, let's do it. Did that. And then they turned everything in, and they were getting surprised. I got
Mm.
a text or a phone call, um Thanksgiving Eve, like, Miss Kendra, you would not believe, we getting approvals, and it's vacation time. It's
Wow.
holiday season and we getting approval. So, I knew then it was a God move. It moved. The process really moved. Like, that was November. We adopted in December.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
very, very, very quick for
that is
seven
quick. Yeah.
kids. Yes, very,
And like you
very
mentioned, for it to
quick.
happen during the holiday season, for the listeners,
Hmm.
like, look, people are heading for the hills during that time of year in
Yes,
child welfare. It's
yes.
family vacation, PTO, but despite that, you all were getting approvals throughout that process, allowing you to be able to
Yes,
finalize so quickly in December. Wow. Wow,
yes.
that's
That's how
amazing.
I knew. That's how I knew it was a God move, and it was just time. It
Mm,
was time. So it was time to close that chapter.
sure.
And so, I'm excited.
And so here,
I didn't know, I didn't know at the time. Like, I'm like, okay, okay. I didn't understand why, the caseworkers and everybody working on the case was like, shocked. And
right.
but I kind of had a clue of like, okay, this is, seven children and it's moving this fast. So I just kept saying, Lord, I thank you.
Yeah.
I trust you. Whatever your will is, that's what it's gonna be. Your timing is perfect timing, and when it's time, it's gonna present itself. And boom,
And it
boom, boom,
presented.
boom, boom, boom.
It definitely
It
presented.
presented itself.
So here it is. You and your family now are in this new normal. And I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier on in the conversation because you were referencing your mom. And you
Mhm,
said that when you were younger, there were some things that you really didn't understand or that you really didn't see, but now you do. So here it
mhm,
is. You've finalized with your seven nephews through the adoption. What are those things that you're now seeing today in regards to your mom that you didn't fully understand as a child when you were watching your mom share so much love with the kids in the community?
um, that every child deserves a second chance.
Mm,
And they really only need love and attention. Well, more than that, but the
sure.
main thing is love and attention. Love and attention. And it used to be my mom is, and we still say this to this day. It seems like my mom attracted kids with behavioral problems
Mm,
that they parents was having problems with, or they were, and then,
sure.
this not something that my mom told me. I have heard this, like I say, I observe, I sit and listen. I have heard parents come and say, "Thank you, Miss Shirley. My child is better.
Mm,
I don't know what you're doing, but my child is better." And so it was the attention. It was, you know just sitting down talking to them, letting them have an opinion about something, or
yeah.
letting them know that, you have a voice, someone hears you. And that gave them a second chance. So I'm like, okay, okay, so why not give them a second chance? Let's go.
Wow. And so, of your siblings, would you say that you're the one who's most like your mom?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of us have a big heart, because we was all raised together, we seen the same thing.
Sure.
So all of us have a big heart. All of my siblings, all of my brothers and sisters on my mom's side at the time had six or more children. I was the only one that had three.
Mm,
So, and then I started a little late, that I would say. I started a little late. So at one point I was the only one that didn't have any kids.
okay.
So I used to get all my nieces and nephews sometimes all at one time, and just spend time with them, for maybe a weekend day. So then, um I remember my brother, the one, my nephew's dad. I remember one day he told me, he said, "Disha, you can't have kids." He Not that way. He was like, "You can't have
Sure.
any kids because you're our nanny." Said, "What? Boy, you got me messed up."
Yeah, you are a free
So
child
now
care
we
provider. We
laugh
need to
about
make
it.
sure
We
that we
laugh.
can, we make
Right.
sure you still go
We,
hang out. Well,
right.
that's
So we laugh
hilarious.
about it still to this day. And then, they bother me, like, how you come from having the less amount of kids to having the most? And I say,
Yeah.
hey, it is what it is, and I'm loving it.
You know,
So
I
yeah.
share that similarity because much like yourself, I didn't have my first child until I was 30. And so my wife and I, we were originally a blended family. My four girls are from my wife's first marriage, and my siblings, they had
Hmm.
already had children, multiple children by that point. But I went from no kids to five, just like that. So I I
Hmm.
can relate to you when you speak about you now having, more children than your siblings, despite getting started late, so to speak. Well, we're getting ready to wrap up, but I have a question for you, Miss Kendrick, because you and your siblings were adamant at a young age to make sure that if anything were to happen, that the kids not be separated, that the kids stay together. You even mentioned some of the psychological implications of siblings being divided that could cause on a child. But in communities, not only in Jacksonville, but across the country, there are youth sibling groups that are in foster care. And due to not having enough homes to be able to place all of those young people together, they are having to be separated into different
Right.
homes. So, what would you
Right.
say to someone listening right now who's contemplated becoming a foster parent, but maybe hasn't considered being a home placement for sibling groups? What would you say to someone who's currently listening in that situation?
So I would say, you know, first off, do what you can. But show the love and attention that those babies need. And if you have the capacity or you have the room, then try it. Some people say, "Oh, I don't know if I can." I don't know. Try it. You never know until you try. And like I said before, kids deserve a second chance. So try it.
Wise words from a woman who's actually living it out. Londeshua Kendrick, the mom of 10, adopted her 7 nephews to hold true to a promise that she and her siblings made when they were younger to not separate the siblings if anything were to ever happen and the kids had to come into one of their care. Londeshua, thank you so much for hanging out with us today on A Tribe Called
Thank
Family. We
you.
greatly appreciate you
Thank
sharing
you.
your story with us. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of A Tribe Called Family. If you are considering becoming a foster parent or an adoptive parent, but you're not exactly sure if it's the right fit for you, I want to encourage you to reach out to the main child welfare agency in your area, get more information. Being a foster or an adoptive parent, it is definitely a life-changing experience, but you always want to make certain
Yes.
that you get full information so that you can make a decision that's going to be best for you and your family. Hey, thanks
Yes.
for hanging out with us again here on A Tribe Called
Yes.
Family. We'll catch you next time.
Hey family, welcome to the tribe called family.